this is the crazy thing. People always think I got into running by myself. But it was my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She basically, she's not sporty at all.
Yeah.
Like, if you knew my wife well, I mean, you know her, but if you knew her well, she's like always been in the academics and just, you know, piano and all that sort of stuff. But one day she was like, I want to do something.
Yeah.
And she went, I've just entered the ballot for the London Marathon. I was like,
Marathon,
I
a
said,
full marathon.
I was like, you? But you don't do sport. I was like, what are you doing? And I was like going, oh, this is a bad decision. I mean, this is like years ago, so my mentality to running, I hated running.
Yeah.
She hated anything to do with sports. I was just like, what are you doing? But she was like, no, I want to challenge myself. So credit to her. I was like, well, you know, I didn't believe she could do it.
Were you just trying to be supportive when she said
Yeah, but because I just like I say, back then I was just like, you don't do sport, you hate sport, you can't. You
and
know.
the marathon is a crazy.
Yeah, and I was like, why have you done that? And she's, I've entered it. I was like, and she didn't even get in the ballot, right? She didn't get, you have to try and get in by ballot. I've tried 5 times, rejected. She's tried 7 times now, but she's never got in. Yeah. And she didn't get in that year. So she went, I still want to do it. I'm going to sign up for York Marathon.
Okay.
So she did Yorkshire Marathon. And I thought...
She completed it, finished it?
Yeah, it was tough.
Nice.
I did it. I just wanted to be safe on runs. I wanted to like be there for it. And I said, look, I'll run it with you then. Yeah. And I was just generally fit from, you know, kickboxing. I was still...
I remember running when we were doing those sprints. You were quite fast then.
Yeah, I mean, I was running, but I wasn't training properly. I mean, we'll probably talk about training, but back then I was just running. I just thought running was running, you know, because I was still in combat sports.
Did you feel that feeling that I guess many people get when they first start running? This is the hardest thing ever. But they just give it 100%. Because the first time I went running with you, you said to me that, I think the analogy you used, you said it's like getting in a F1, like a F1 race. You don't want to just keep revving.
Yeah, exactly.
And just break down your
body. It's
basically
like when you first get running, you want to feel the burn.
Yeah.
You want to feel that like you're working hard.
Yeah.
So people just go out. I see it on Strava all the time. People like get into running. They're pretty fit people, but they come from other sports, like maybe combat sports or something else, football, whatever, and they'll just go hard every time.
100%.
Yeah, and they go, well, I can only run 6, 5, 7K, and I'll be like, actually, no, you could probably go 20K because you're quite fit. You could probably run a half marathon now.
Yeah.
You just have to go slower.
Yeah.
But they're obsessed with like that ego thing, and they want to feel like they're working hard and pushing hard, and they want to feel their lungs bursting, so they just go hard.
I think that's the misconception about running. That's what I had. Exactly. I thought I used to hate running. I used to do a lot of treadmill running and a lot of sprints on the treadmill and hill sprints. But first time I went running, and he said to me, we're going to just do 8 kilometers. In my head, I was like, I haven't done that in like forever, especially on the road.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll be able to do this.
Road's very different to treadmill.
Yeah, and you told me to go just at a pace where you should be able to speak to yourself loud.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing.
Yeah, without being out of breath.
Hardest thing to do.
So once I started doing that with you, I actually started enjoying running a bit more because it was no longer about just killing yourself.
And that's what people do. They always say they don't like running, but what they really mean is they don't like that hard part of running every single time they run. Like nobody does. I don't. I sometimes go through the whole day knowing that the interval session, which is like hard, it's a hard session, and I get anxiety because I know on the 7th, 8th reps, if you're doing like an interval session where there's, especially if there's hills in it, God, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not enjoyable. It's not meant to be enjoyable, but that it's a very small part of your week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you turn up for that one, and that's a hard session. So basically, like during the week, you're probably going to have what we call as sessions. So it's like when we say session, we're running all week, but when you say sessions, it's like a session that's hard. Yeah. It's like one of your key workouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that intervals?
It can be intervals or a long run or a tempo run, but it's a session that you're working. You turn up to work, and then the rest of it is sort of like easy days, you know. And people don't understand that. They just want to run those sessions every single time.
And it's almost like maintenance as well. Like
it's maintenance, but there's some things that your body improves on when you're doing the low, you know, aerobic stuff that you can't get if you're just doing hill sprints or you know, real hard intervals, because like hill sprints are great, trust me, like fighters do it all the time.
Because you said to me, don't
don't keep doing it and doing it and doing it, because you're going to neglect all the other things. You know what I mean? Because you can't.
Like can't be good for your body to run uphill like 4 or 5 times a week.
It's such an intense thing. Like when I do a hill session, I drop a strength and conditioning sort of gym session, because it's that in itself. You'll feel it, and you don't want to just keep doing that. The point of the hill session is strength, really, and the neuromuscular coordination, or they call it motor control, or in combat sports it'd be like muscle memory.
Yes.
Try and get your muscles to do a certain thing.
Keep maintaining that.
Exactly, so it gets stronger, more efficient at doing it. So like when you've been in the game for a long time, when you throw a punch, you're not really thinking all the steps you have to do. Like a beginner would be thinking, right? Yeah. So that's why they're sort of like hesitant.
It's all just like drilling, isn't it? You keep drilling until it becomes second nature.
You'll fire a right cross naturally, because your body doesn't think about it. That's the neuromuscular
just repetition over time.
So you're strengthening that. So when you do hill sprints, obviously you're going to get a little bit fitter. Of course, any exercise you're going to get fitter. But what you're really developing with the hill sprints is strength. Yeah. The neuromuscular firing up your body, being able to run efficiently at fast, being explosive fast.
Yeah, it's a gradual increase in your fitness rather than.
Yeah, it's like the key session for like that is like the strength of like the neuromuscular development, the strength, functional strength.
So at what point did you think I need to do some research and start doing this properly?
When I ran Nottingham, this is the story I tell everybody. When I ran Nottingham half, I was I was running a lot of half marathons back then, because I sort of got into running. But
did you have like a training program?
No,
just go run.
I was running them just on pure fitness and trying to push physically, mentally as hard as possible. Yeah, and I think I staggered around. I was always hitting like 143, 142, 141, depending on the course.
That's decent though, without any training programs.
It's decent for like if a beginner runner. Yeah. It's 1 to 140 mark is pretty good. I mean, I think Kell Brook, the boxer, ran 134 and he's a professional boxer. You know what I mean? So just getting in there is like, if you go sub 140, you're pretty fit. But I was getting that from just my kickboxing fitness and general being healthy. But I was just trying to push it hard each time, thinking, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. You just got to run your body through grind it through. Yeah. And I remember lying down at the end of Nottingham thinking, I felt like I could have had a heart attack that day. And I said to my brothers, I was texting them saying, I feel like I need A&E. Like, I feel something's happening with my heart here. And I said, I can't go through this again.
Do you think it was the accumulation of all the training sessions?
Yeah, I was just pushing mentally I was pushing, and physically then that race, and I said to myself, I never want to feel like this.
So how did you start?
I started researching. Right. I asked myself the question, how do they do it? Yeah. How do you run? I remember running with people and they would be like, my half marathon time's like 1 hour 20. I was like, how do you get there? How is it possible? It's not physically possible. I'm 30 something years old. How am I going to get there?
You start wearing your glasses, go on the computer.
Exactly, I'm just like obsessed. I get obsessed. You have to be obsessed with some things. And I got obsessed with it. I was learning about heart rate training. And the biggest thing from like transitioning from like kickboxing, I was always more focused on, like, I didn't compete. Obviously I did interclubs, sparred with the fighters and things, but I never competed. But the biggest thing for me was I wanted just to be involved in the performance. Yes. And always
be a useful teammate.
Exactly. And I was interested in performance and pushing performance levels always. So that's probably why I felt ultimately.
You already had that sort of mental.
Yeah, I was more concerned with competing with myself and the performance and getting better technique, faster, quicker, stronger, and all that sort of stuff, rather than going into fight and compete versus somebody. I was always like, oh my god, how does Crow Cop throw that left kick so beautifully compared to everyone else? How's he got it? So I I think we spoke before off camera about, in the old days you were taking notes from the K1 videos.
We didn't really have YouTube like that, so we had to like get the DVDs from eBay and start.
So I was similar. I was like on YouTube, like I'd screen record get the footage from Crow Cop, and I'd like see where's he placed his foot, and how's he getting that left kick so crisp, and how does he throw it? Because it was so fast, and he's like 220-pound guy, and it was so crisp. But
the thing is about that as well, we didn't really have that much content online to show how they got there. It was just seeing them do this move, and like, how did you pull that off?
So back in the day, it was like they were all quite mystical characters, weren't they? It was just like,
and seeing someone break down a technique like a fighter of like Crow Cop or like.
So that's basically what I did with running. I never knew anything about heart rates.
Was there anybody that you came across first and you thought that guy is cool?
For running, I think it was just people around me. When they tell me their times, I'll be like, "How have you managed to do it?" For me, every time they said that, I would just say things like, "Oh, they just must be good at running. They must be naturally good at running." But it's not. It's not the case. It's just that you have to learn how to build endurance, and that's the biggest difference. Combat sports for me is generally you'll rise to the top if you're skilled, and you can utilize that skill, and then all the pillars around combat sports, you have the same things as any other sport. Mental strength, resilience, consistencies, all the pillars that you have around. But the main thing in combat sports is you have to be skilled. You know what I mean? And then for running, we have all the same things, but the pillars are different sizes. So the main thing for running is endurance. It's an endurance sport. So you have to learn about. So combat sports, you're learning about footwork, technique, and then how to use that technique in the intensity of a fight.
And that's the hardest part.
Exactly. And then that would be the biggest thing. Let's say if it's like a pyramid, that would be your biggest thing. Because like we were talking before, you can have strength, you build that later, all that sort of stuff you can build later. But you have to be skilled at what you're doing.
And you also have to be almost made for doing it, because it's not like any other sport. You actually, every other sport at elite level, I feel like, well, it depends, with the exception of a few, but you're putting your health on the line. So if you're running like a ultra marathon, for example, that's like,
it's the margins, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But so
absolutely,
I think the difference between combat sports, so if we look at something like MMA, you have so many techniques and so many sports and so many skills that you have to learn and think about.
It's a skill base.
Whilst you do those martial arts on top of your strength and conditioning, you generally will be fit enough to just push some more in camp and get that intensity you need to compete at high level over 5 rounds or 3 rounds.
Some people never get there as well.
No,
but people can never get to that sort of threshold where it takes it up to that.
But with running, it'll be more like, I gotta be as fit as possible and just make sure my body don't break down at this amount.
It's basically like the slab for combat sports, I would say. If it was a pyramid, you had a slab. It's the skill set that's going to really make you successful or not.
What about
and then for running, the biggest slab is endurance. You just got to spend years of figuring out how to build your endurance the best you can.
And did you start looking into dieting as well?
Dieting came later, because when you do, I didn't really run marathons until later, and that's when you have to start the nutrition. You just have to, because the marathon is different. The marathon is like, they're all hard. Like I say, at any level, when you start pushing those like boundaries of your physical ability, they're all equally as hard. But the marathon is the one where you have to start doing more things. It's more complicated, like pacing, discipline, fuel, timing of it, and then you have to work out your energy systems
and recovery.
Recovery, massive, but it's all about fuel and hydration and timing of when you're going to take carbohydrates, how much can you process, how many carbs can you process, and when you're going to do it. You know what I mean? So 5K, you don't think of any of this stuff. You don't need to think about that. You just wake up, make sure you're fit, have a breakfast, and you go. You don't take any water, you don't take any fuel, you don't take any extra carbohydrates, you don't take timing of everything. Just do it. 10K.
So you said
same marathon, nutrition, fuel. You have to learn about all that.
And you said that, I think when I started asking you questions like almost every week when I got into running, you said that I think it's every 5K you have to rehydrate, or was it 10K?
For marathon,
say if you're running like a 20 kilometer or like 30 kilometer run.
Yeah, if it's a long run and it's a session,
yeah,
you should be practicing hydration and fuel every 5k or something like that. Yeah. It's generally around every 5k that people try and do. I mean, everybody's different, but the longer the run, you have to start like say it's like you do like an over 90 minutes.
Yeah,
you should start fueling. Because after that time, you start to run out of fuel, and that's it. But you need to practice, you need to train your body, basically, to convert fuel to energy. And it sounds like it's easy, but it's not.
No.
And that's why there's a lot of people with stomach problems, throwing up, crashing out, because like the average person, I think, you can process about 60 carbohydrates per hour. In moderate intensity to intense exercise. Yeah. It's about 60 for the average person. But the elites will train their bodies to take on more. But you have to train that. You have to train your gut. So it's like
it will take a long time, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it takes years, yeah. You have to practice through the camp. So like some people will go on runs and go, oh, well, I don't need water, I don't need extra carbs, I can just do it. It's like technically, yeah, of course you can do it. Everyone can.
But not your best.
But you need to train your gut to convert more energy.
How many hours do you think you spend into like looking into this, like daily?
I was obsessed, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, obsessed. I did it for like, it was like my thing. It was just like I got probably too obsessed. I was like, I don't know. That's the only way to get good at something. But it was just like it's a weird thing running because it's like a drug.
Yeah.
It's like. You know, it's real. Like, I mean, lockdown, I think a lot of people found running as a cure for, like, a lot of things. Like,
for sure.
You know, my brother he said lockdown hit him hard. He started running. He was a football guy, you know. Both of them now, football guys, turned to running.
Did he do the full marathon with you the other day, or was it a half one that he did?
I've run with both of them, but one of them he did a marathon, his first marathon.
Oh, nice.
He was.
And he never ran before lockdown.
He didn't really train for it, but he was like, he inspired by sort of me running in the family. I mean, like they've all started to run now. It's like crazy.
Start taking physical health a bit more serious.
That's what I mean. Lockdown changed for everyone, and life was hard, so people started running and things like. I think this is like a drug. It's like
especially because it was the summer as well, so the weather was nice.
Yeah, and mental health, it's so good. Like even if you're not like pushing, if you're not competitive and you want to run for exercise, that's just as good. You know, great. The more you do, the better. But
especially when you do like a long run or long hard run, you think I've done the hardest thing I could possibly do today. Everything else will be a bit. Yeah,
that feeling's so good. Like.
And so you have like a day where you do long runs.
Yeah, Sunday morning. Get up at 4:00, and when it's cold and winter, it's even better. It's sweeter because everyone's in bed, everyone's cozied up, warm, and I'm waking up at 4. It could be like -2. I'm getting my fuel ready. I'm out the door. I start the run at 6, and it's like freezing.
Yeah,
and it's cold.
And when you get home, you've done it. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like. The streets are empty. I drive to some places where I know that it's just quiet.
Yeah.
Like I've done a video on it. I run from Chesterfield to Rolla Valley and back.
So
and do you 35k?
Do you have certain times that you train on certain days, or just depending on what you got planned that day?
You mean like the structure of the week?
Yeah, because it'll be.
Yeah, definitely.
I know like sleep is really, really important, and I assume if you're doing early morning runs, you'd want to get a good night's sleep.
Good night's sleep on that Saturday, yeah definitely.
So about what time would you usually go to bed? Around
normally it's around 9:30, 10.
Okay.
Normally.
But
with a baby, you don't know. Now with the baby, it's kind of like you get whatever you can.
Yeah. So what was the training be like now they have a baby?
It's the mileage is lower. Like I was doing in my let's say if we rewind back to last year, I was a beast in shape. I got my weight down to like on race day for Manchester last year. I got my weight to 59.8 kilograms, and I started the camp probably around 66.
And you felt really good at that weight.
Yeah, lean, mean, everything, and I was I ran my fastest time.
Yeah.
This year I was about 1.4 kilograms heavier. Less mileage, like a lot less mileage.
Yeah.
Some days skipped.
Yeah.
Stretching skipped. Yeah. Diets up and down because you don't know when you're going to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been hard, like juggling, but last year was like militant, absolute militant last year. And I was doing like a low mileage week last year was like 85 kilometers a week. That's crazy. A low mileage week. Yeah. And I was hitting 110, 100, 90 something. So I'm doing like, 400.
Feeling good the whole time whilst you were doing it as well, like for the year. For the week, I mean, so...
Feeling strong mainly through it.
And you have like a day off, 2 days off a week?
Never a day off.
Yeah.
But an off day would be like mobility work or something.
I see. So like active rest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They call it like active recovery.
Yeah.
There's never a day off. It's more like you're doing something to improve without...
killing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for you... maybe shadow boxing, maybe something.
Yeah, like a light run.
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe play some badminton and do something fun.
Yeah, even if it's like meditation, it's something, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I don't know if you meditate, but
well, I've had to start doing it because
people talk about it, and it's like really, really positive.
Yeah, so I do these little weird things sometimes when I can't sleep. I put on like astral projection.
Yeah.
Someone just talking over YouTube, and you just listen to it.
Yeah,
it makes I found it really difficult to try and relax. You know, when you've been training for so long.
I understand. Can't switch off. Right?
You forget to switch off. So
busy.
This is what I used to do when I used to compete, like at a high level. Try and get to sleep around 10 o'clock or 10:30 and switch everything off. And if you can't sleep, which was almost every night, just try and rest.
It's hard to switch your brain off.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's very hard, especially if you got like a competition coming up and you have that pressure on you and you keep thinking about the fight.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got your opponent in your mind 24/7.
Scenarios are going through your head. Yeah. And what are you going to do?
Just draining.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think this is why people like performance in that sport, like running, for example. Mm-hmm. People might underestimate it because you're not so much competing with people, especially if it's like a full marathon. It's just you and yourself. But I think that's a different type of pressure because you might be able to take a loss if it's against someone else, but if you're taking a loss against yourself, it might be a whole different ballgame. Say if you have an aim. So I looked at some things before this, and I think you've done the fastest half marathon in 1:2. Was it 120?
123, yeah.
123 and point 57 or something.
51, I think.
Yeah,
maybe.
51. So say if you're like doing the half marathon and you've trained this whole time for it.
Yeah.
And on race day you just don't feel 100% and you 10 seconds off.
Yeah.
And you got to deal with that the next day, the day after. And then thinking about the whole training sessions that you have to get in order to prepare yourself for that again.
I mean, you mentioned the half, but I don't really feel like that with the half because the race isn't, like I said, like we were talking off camera before, but the race, I consider like the half marathon quite a fast race now.
Yeah.
As you run faster times, it becomes, quite a fast race. But definitely with the marathon last year, I mean... that 9 seconds, I'll be honest, that's played with my head for a year.
Yeah, but
it really has, and I know nobody cares in the grand scheme of things.
It's not about that. It's about.
But probably my wife and me. The only, she'll probably know. But I took, my biggest regret on that day was just like, I always think, could I have made that 9 seconds up somewhere? And I probably could have.
Do you think that's more to do with strategy then, rather than your fitness level, or a bit of both, maybe?
I mean, 9 seconds doesn't sound a lot, but
it is a lot on race day.
But in that moment, I'll be honest. I tried mentally. I said to myself, "Do not take the foot off the gas, not even for a split second. Not you can't." My body physically couldn't. Obviously, the splits I slowed down at the end. This is last year. But my mind, I can honestly say, hand on heart, my mind said, you are not taking your foot off the gas. Just give it everything you've got. Give it everything.
And you did that all the way through?
My mind did, but my body, you look at the splits, I slowed down.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say I didn't slow down. In the brain, I was like, I'm going as hard as I physically can. Yeah. So I don't know if I could have made that 9 seconds. Maybe I could, maybe I couldn't. I couldn't even film the last... I can't remember when it was last year, but I couldn't film any of it. I couldn't vlog any of it. I couldn't take water. I missed a water station. I needed water, but even the thought of grabbing the bottle.
Just
you
too
have
much.
to practice that as well. Like I've missed, like in Derby half, I missed it. I go fast, and she tried to give it me, and I sort of got it, and she didn't release the drink fast enough. And
you were too fast.
Yeah, and I can remember swearing at myself. I was like,
I needed that.
Yeah, I needed that water, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't need the water. It's just those mental things again.
So would you say that
I might have lost that 9 seconds in something that I couldn't have helped, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of the things. But those 9 seconds that's been on my mind for a year. So like you saying, like it grates on you. It's just you know, inside you just.
But that's what pushes you to do better next time.
Exactly. Yeah. And I thought this year I wouldn't be anywhere near 3 hours. Never even thought, because of the last 3 months.
Yeah.
I just thought training's not been there.
Yeah.
I've not slept like for 3 months well.
Yeah.
And
operating like a zombie, still having to do full marathon.
I thought looking at the pace, what it felt like in training, I thought I'd run about 3 hours, 3 hours 6 minutes. I thought I'd fall around that. I thought realistically I'm probably going to fall around that.
Yeah.
But then on the day I was just like, how have I done that? I'm like literally like.
So when you're going for it again, where are you going to try and break that record?
The big sub 3 will be Amsterdam in October. So that's the last chance, because I want to do it before I'm 40.
So do you have like specific times that you give for training camps, I guess?
For marathon, yeah. Definitely for marathon.
So how long is that?
I normally do 12 to 14 weeks.
Okay. But, and you have a program
for beginners, they say up to 16 weeks or 18 weeks.
Okay.
But the more experienced you are, you can sort of get away with 10, 12.
So
14.
Have you adopted a way to prepare for these events? So do you sit down with pen and paper and make a program, or do you?
I've got like everything in a spreadsheet on Google Docs.
Yeah.
Like
ready to go.
I'm a little bit like OCD with all that stuff. I'm like, I've got my race history, what shoes I've worn, location, notes on the day of what may have affected the time. Like I ran in Cheltenham on the hottest day of the year. God, that was half marathon. 28 degrees, man, with no shade. That was hard.
Was that the hardest you've done?
No, always the marathon is the hardest.
Okay.
Like even that says it all. That was 28 degrees, and I finished that race. I was absolutely, my heart rate was sky high. But it's half marathon, like I say.
I was drained doing nothing that day.
Hottest day in Cheltenham, man. And it's on a race course where horses race.
Do you remember your time for that?
1:27, I think. Maybe 1:27, maybe.
That's
1:26, 1:27.
So what was the difference with the horse race?
No, it was on the horse racing track. So there's no shade.
Oh.
So you're in the sun baking.
Yeah.
For like an hour and 20, running like heart rate 180, touching 190. It's intense.
Must have been brutal recovery.
Yeah, and you just get the water, you run past, and you're trying to drink it, but it's so hard to drink because when you're running so fast and like your oxygen deficit, it's just hard to drink. Like really hard. Have you ever tried to drink like running when you're going fast?
Oh yeah.
You have to practice that, and like it's hard, man. In Berlin, it was 25 degrees, and they served water in cups, not bottles, and it was devastating because I couldn't get it down. So I ended up not taking much water and just splashing it on my face.
Hoping for the best, just throwing it over the best.
I just throw it in my face, and I just couldn't get it down because when I was trying to get it down, the water was splashing out the cup and things.
Yeah.
Now I know a technique, like you have to crush the cup and make a funnel, and sort of now it works. I wish I knew that before, but
I mean, how fast are you running for like you're trying to beat your
marathon? It's about 4:10.
4:10
minutes kilometre for marathon. That's sort of where I'm aiming for the marathon.
And for
half marathon, it's like 3:56 to 3:57, something like that.
For the full marathon, do you have like do you go fast for the first half and then slow down in the last, or do you do it the other way around?
I've tried to do it like a bit organically. Like there's so many strategies out there, but it's so hard to just go out there and try and run perfectly to a strategy because the course changes. There's inclines, inclines, and it's just like up and down, and things happen in the race that might slow you down, like taking drink and gels, fuel. Yeah. So you might lose time. So it's like you're always sort of like on. I always think of it like you're like sort of you're a pilot, and you're checking all these things.
You have to adapt,
altitude and things, and you have to adapt because, like the crowd, it plays a big part in heart rates, and you do use the crowd, but you need that at the end.
Yes.
But if you start to push and your adrenaline spikes early on and you're already running a little bit too fast, then in a marathon, if you go too much into your sort of threshold, anaerobic threshold, which means there's a point in everybody that if you go at an intensity where your body starts to produce too much byproduct that it can't clear it away, it can last for about an hour at doing that before you shut down. You know, so if you run too much at that in a marathon, you're doomed. You just can't. It's just too long a race. If you go into that too early, you just shut down later.
So do you prepare for that by doing a full marathon before a race?
No, never a full marathon, because it's just too hard to recover from. So I normally do about 35 up to 35k.
And that's like a week or two before the race?
It's normally throughout the camp.
Okay.
And you structure the run differently. So it can be a progressive run where you start. The first half is like easy to moderate. You really going by heart rate. Yeah. And then the second half will be you'll be hitting your marathon pace. Yeah. So you might do like one session I did for this was 17.5k, easy, moderate. Just keep the heart rate steady. Yeah. Don't go near the anaerobic threshold. If you do, you're going too fast. So it's all about heart rate. And then the second half, you go into your marathon pace and you're trying to keep the heart rate in my personal zone. I've got to keep it sort of zone 3. Yeah. Which is like 160 heart rate something. If it starts to go like into the 170s, it's okay. Just go by experience, try and get it down. But if it starts creeping 175, 180 too early on, you're done. In a marathon, you're done.
Is that where you would want to go back to like your tempo pace, or
you want to bring it down? You'd have to bring it down by breathing, better form, ignore the crowd, get the adrenaline down, and hope that it settles. Because if it doesn't settle, you're gonna basically just spend too much time at that threshold, and you can only last about an hour there. So if you do it like too early in a marathon, you're gonna run in the last part.
That's interesting, because it almost feels like you have to, just like a fight, you have to stay calm in the midst of chaos. Yeah. And then and at fighting at like at any if you fight at the high level, like you've done, you know that you have to be disciplined. Yes. You can't let emotions sort of dictate what you're going to do. You need to, you might see that in a lot of beginner fighters, that they get like these waves of adrenaline and they're just really just going on like emotions, and like they're not thinking about, you need to think about the later rounds if it goes the distance, or what I mean. They're not thinking. You have to be smart. It's pacing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like just like fighting, you have to be smart. You have to be really smart. Yeah. Like some of the most successful fighters, it's consistency being smart. Fight IQ, exactly. Yeah.
And so I think also the training have to be smart as well. So if you're not training the right way, then you're not going to compete the right way.
You have to be intelligent.
But I think for me, it just, the thing that makes me want to continue to train now that I don't really fight is just to try and stay healthy and try and stay fit and just loving doing it every day. Yeah. If I don't hit pad for like a week, or if I don't hit the bag for like a week, I feel like something massive is missing in my life. Absolutely. So you said that now that you've been sleeping less and now you have a baby and this is your first baby, and you have to change the structure of your days and your routine. How hard has it been to try and train?
Oh, man, honestly, the last 3 months has been like one of the hardest periods of my life. And I've been open about it. I run a YouTube channel, as you know, and I made an episode just thanking people and saying, like, because I had people come round to the house and people talk to me emotionally. It was like
really
a roller coaster, and physically I'd never felt like that before, but emotionally I think the last 3 months has been hard. But
did being in that mindset, did that make you want to train some more, or was it a case of I can't deal with even thinking about running today?
It was more of a sense of like doom, really. It was a sense of like, I couldn't really, I thought it was over. I thought the feeling I got from training, because I've trained since well over like probably 20 years now. Or maybe when did I come to, I can't remember when I came to kickboxing. When was it? 2008 or something like that?
Yeah, like it's got to be at least 15 years.
Yeah, something like that. So I've been active constantly, like with no years off, just constantly training for something, whether it's performance or helping guys prepare for fights, being part of camps, and then going to the running. It's like I've always got something. And then when I had the baby, I was just like, it's all gone within
all of that's taken away
days. Like it was gut wrenching. It was just gone.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see it ever coming back in that time, because it's like a storm. Your emotions high. I went 38 hours without sleeping in that first week.
That's crazy.
And I was just sat there thinking, how am I ever going to train again?
Yeah.
This is it. And your emotions are everywhere. And some people have a great experience.
And I think also it's become like a
hit for six.
Yeah. It's part of your identity now, isn't it, to be a runner, to train? So like, there's the thought of like that's being taken away from.
I even thought about making a video saying I'm going to take a break from the channel.
Yeah.
I thought about packing everything in and not going for the sub 3 and. Yeah, it was hard, and then I sort of, bit by bit, got out for a run and felt awful. I like I say, like this Manchester camp for the one I've just run, I can't remember having many good runs. Maybe two or three out of it.
You think on race day were purely mental?
It's fitness built because even though like I ran a worse time, I think I'm stronger now.
Yeah.
Like I know it doesn't make sense, but if I can run 3 hours 9 seconds when I'm when I thought I was at my physical peak, and then run like 3 hours 32 seconds, a little bit slower on the last 3 months I've had, I must be stronger.
When things settle down and you start training properly,
exactly. I think
you could push your mind beyond.
For sure. Like I'm going to be mentally stronger because, like, I'm just going to be like, well, I've had 4 or 5 hours sleep. That's enough.
Well, that's like with everything. You have to go through hell to become stronger. Yeah. So if you feel like,
absolutely.
I think so. Like I said earlier as well before we go on the mic, things that are worth having is always going to be very difficult. So if you could go, if you've gone through the past 3 months and still being able,
you have to go through it.
Yeah, still being able to do all these crazy runs and training and competing when things settle down and you're back to your routine.
It's such a common thing with like people I listen to, like David Goggins, things like that. The stories that they go through. I read his book, and it's just like, even in like life, business, like people say you need to go through adversity to be stronger. Yeah, because that's how you level up. It's just no one
get out of the comfort zone.
Exactly.
Get uncomfortable.
It's like it's a common thing, so it has to be right. Because all the people that I've aspired to,
they've all been through shit.
Family as well, even life stuff. Life stuff. I see people go through things and I think, how have they done that? How have they kept it together? It's like, that's inspiring.
Yeah, of course.
And I always think, could I do that? Yeah. And I think maybe not. Maybe I could. Maybe I couldn't. But you'll know if you go through it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Did you ever have those runs where you just constantly battling in your head about the running, the physical, the mental side of that, but also thinking about the things that are going on in your life and trying to just balance everything in your head whilst you're out there doing this really, really hard thing?
Yeah, I think it's when you feel bad in a run, you start to do that.
Okay.
Because you sort of like feel down about it.
Yes.
Because you can't, and not every training session can be nice, right? And feel like a beast. There's a lot of time in training where you might not just be with it. Yeah. And you start to feel a bit down. It affects your mood. And the biggest thing for me was training for this Manchester Marathon, knowing that it's going to be so tough because I've run it before. Yeah. And I know how hard it is to run a sub 3 marathon. I've tried 3 times. I've failed 3 times. Yeah. But going into this one was hard because of like what you just said. I was always doubting myself because of the last 3 months. It was just...
I've not trained the way I wanted to train.
Yeah, it was just like a mental battle thinking, I'm not going to do it. I was thinking... I think I went for a session like 2 weeks before Manchester, and I actually put on my Strava, why am I even going to Manchester? What am I going for? Yeah. Why? I tried to defer it actually. I went actually on the website.
What made you want to go ahead with it anyway?
I missed the deferral date. I'd already paid, man. So I was like, I'll run it anyway. I'll just go hard. Forget strategy. I'm just going to go hard and see what happens.
But you're glad you did it, though?
I'm so glad I did it because I've learned so much about it.
Because that's
I can't believe I ran that time. I just can't believe it.
You said earlier that you're competing with yourself and you have something like a new human that you have to take care of in your life. Yeah. Like, it almost becomes the PBs and stuff become secondary. Yeah. You will get back to that when it's the right time.
That's it. I just thought, how can I be disappointed? How can I be disappointed? I've run like so close to my last year time when I was militant.
And you've gone through this.
And I've gone through this last 3 months. I'm not like, it's so hard to train. It's like if you had to train for some of your biggest fights.
Yeah.
On like 4 hours broken sleep every night, relentless.
To pick up injuries as well. Get ill.
I was okay with injuries. Nothing like, I had niggles. Everyone has like sort of niggles ongoing, but luckily I didn't have biggest injuries. But the main thing was the lungs and the heart wasn't recovering. Because that's the thing with running. I've not had too bad injuries with it. I've had the knees at the start.
Yeah.
But and the back. But my lower back wasn't from running. It was from years of just neglect of like strength conditioning, stretching, the proper things to do to look after your back, right? Sitting at a computer bad, everything.
And recovery must be like a massive part of your
that's
training.
The biggest thing I'd say, because I didn't have the big injuries where it's like, oh, my knee, my ankle. I'm pretty good, robust with that stuff, and I think training kickboxing has definitely made me less injury prone in that sense.
What do you do for recovery, say after just a hard training session?
Hard training session is straight with the diet straight away. So you got to refuel straight away. Like within like an hour, get protein in, get carbohydrates in.
You have like a certain amount of water you drink within time.
3 litres a day I try to do.
Yeah.
And that's something I've done recently. Not like I've neglected the hydration side, but I kept getting cramp in the marathons. I actually collapsed in York, 200 metres from the end, and I had to be helped over by staff. My body just shut down for a split second with cramp, and I fell
Was it
over.
just in your bottom of your leg, on your calf?
I think it was in my left side.
Okay. I
can't remember exactly, but it just for a second I got cramp.
What's the worst injury you've had through running?
From running, it would probably be I would say the heart and something in here. I can't particularly tell you what it is. It was when I was in Manchester last year. Everything was cramping inside, and it just fit. Like I say, it's so difficult to describe to someone, because it's like you could say I got tired, but it's like that's such an understatement, because you're not just tired. It's like
your body's breaking.
Yeah, it's like a sense of doom, and you don't really know what's going on. It's not like my knees hurting or my hamstring, even though everything was hurting. Knees, hamstring, glutes, everything was in pieces last year, but it's more of like inside. So it's more scary because you don't know what it is, and you hear about stories and you see it on the course as well. People just dropping, like a sniper's just hit them. It's just like what's wrong with them? You don't know.
That might be me next. Because I've had this pain in my stomach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the heart is always the issue. Like the heart rate, because the heart rates are so, like especially with marathon running, we're talking about trying to get the heart rate down for as long.
Do you feel like that in training as well, or is it mainly race days?
Race days, because training you have to be like, it's structured, so there is recoveries in there. You know what I mean? If you're doing your intervals, you've got recoveries. Even when you're doing like intensity 400 reps, you've got like 200 meters to recover to get the heart rate down, stuff like that. Or any session, it will have recoveries.
Yeah, and I guess because you've trained so hard for it, you just want to give 110%.
Yeah, exactly. And you get carried away. Yeah. And there's the adrenaline of race day. It's not like you're just in a park doing it yourself. You don't get, you can stop if you want to. Yeah. You can, but in a race, you just get carried away. There's like crowd, there's people running with you. You're in a pack, and you're with that pack, and you stay with that pack for like let's say you stay with that pack for 2 hours 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it gets closer to the goal of 3 hours, and people stop dropping, and it's like the survival of the fittest. And it's like you see people drop, and you think, "Is that me next? Is that me next?" And it was me next in this Manchester 38k, absolutely just shutting down. But I can't even. I don't think I was even running. I was just like the motion was just taking me. Yeah. I can't even like think what I was doing. I was just like, and
autopilot.
And I managed to keep an okayish pace. I think I finished at 4:59 pace. And my marathon pace is like 4:10, so it's slow, and it basically destroyed my whole race, because I'd run the whole race like pace from like 4:06 to 4:12 or something, and then just those last few splits killed all that work gone.
Yeah. As soon as you go over the cross line, was the first thing that you need or want? Just take a seat there or take.
Yeah, I just walked, and this big guy. He put his arm around me, and he was asking me questions.
Yeah.
And he was asking how I did. And on the video, I'm just like, what? what?
Yeah.
And he goes, how did you do? And I said, mate, I can't talk right now. I think I'm going to pass out.
Yeah.
And I thought I was a bit rude to him, so I found who he was and I texted him saying, look, I didn't mean to be rude, I just couldn't talk.
He'll understand.
Yeah, and he was like, he gets it. And on the video, you can see 2 runners behind me on the floor collapse, and there's medical staff helping them up. And, some people cross and they look like proper, like, well prepared.
That's how I feel after the fight.
Some people,
if you've gone through a really hard fight, as soon as the bell rings, and then you're coming out of the ring, and everyone just coming to you. Like, I just want to go back. Not right now.
Yeah, it's like when I finish, I'm just like, it's just so glad I finished. Because I was cursing in that last mile, like saying stupid things like,
hey, it's a massive achievement what you've been through.
Yeah, there was a sign that said 1 mile left.
Yeah.
And I was running that mile and thinking to my head, how long's a mile? Roughly, it's around like a little bit like round Millhouse's Park in Sheffield.
Yeah.
And I was running it, and it just never seemed to end because I was in so much pain, and I just wanted it to end. I was just like, this is not a mile. They've measured the course wrong. This is not a mile. I know what a mile feels like. I know what a mile feels like. This is not correct. Just cursing because I just want it to be over so much. Like, I just want it to be over so much, and I can see the finish line. And I want to get there, but I'm just dying. I'm just like...
But that's the kind of thing that builds that mental strength that you need to deal with situations, like real life situations.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when you have to battle your demons and your body's shutting down and you still have to keep going, that's the type of strength that it needs to like just deal with real life.
I think that's with everything, isn't it? Yeah. It's not specific to sport. It's just something like... You need to have if you're going to get to any sort of level that pushes you to your... I mean, there's plenty of runners that don't want to, have this sort of competition in themselves, and they do it for fitness and enjoyment, social. Plenty of runners, that's completely fine. That's
it's almost like therapy.
That's great. Yeah, exactly. That's great. But I can't run and not have a goal. Yeah. I can't just run and just not have any purpose.
Would you say that's the main source of your motivation, just having goals?
Exactly, yeah. Even in kickboxing, even though I didn't want to compete and hit somebody, or
I wanted
to feel like I'm pushing myself and getting quicker, faster, better technique, and I wanted to be as fit as possible, as strong as possible. Yeah. And I felt like I was sort of like really strong.
I always tell people, Will was the best kickboxer who didn't fight.
I'll take that. But
how did you feel when you did the interclubs? Would you feel different from sparring? Because you did one, didn't you?
Well, I did that interclub, but he was like shredded. He looked like Crow Cop. I was like, oh god. And I was supposed to be...
He went a bit hard, didn't he?
He went hard, but I was such a novice back then. Yeah. I think I got better when I sparred with you guys at the gym.
Yeah. When you started training with the fighters a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to spar every week, and I used to enjoy it, but I never really wanted to compete. I just wanted to help people. Yeah. And I think that's why I fall into running, because it was always a battle of just performance.
I don't think I've ever asked you this, because I think I just assumed. Yeah. I think, what made you start taking running way more seriously than you did kickboxing? Because kickboxing, you were pretty much there every day training.
I would say as I got older, I needed something. Yeah. I'm 39. I'll turn 40 in October. Mm. And running's one where, like in combat sports, you do get older fighters, but when they're in the primes, they're fairly young. They've got fast twitch muscles. They're strong. They they recover quickly. Yeah. And they also have a bit more like mental sharpness
and hunger.
When you get older, you still have all the skill sets, but you just can't execute it in the intensity, at the same sort of intensity. Mm. So you see fighters coming to the end of their careers. They're always going to have the knowledge and skill, but they can't execute that like split-second decision to throw a kick because they're not mentally sharp as they used to be, and they're just not recovering, and they just can't get the hours in to compete with the younger guys. But with running, it's like there's so many older guys like pushing their bodies to the limits, and they move into ultras and things, and they do phenomenal things. Like the people that run these crazy ultras. I think I watched the Moab 240, and I was tracking David Goggins on, and he's like 45 years old. He's pushing the lead guy, and he's a lead guy. Like he's a proper professional, like he just ultra running. Like I think he's from Italy or Spain. And he's like 35 himself. But
is he the guy that won it?
Yeah, But Goggins took him at one point, but he got lost.
Oh.
And then he had to double back on himself. And it lasted 3 days, this race. I was like in bed, checking, waking up in the morning, checking. It's like, I've just slept, I've had breakfast. He's still out there somewhere in the darkness, something. I'm just like, these guys...
And getting lost.
He double backed, and then he lost his position. But he came second, and he's 45 years old. I'm just like,
that
inspires me. And I listened to that. He crossed the line, he started doing push-ups, for God's sake.
Only David Goggins would
and
do
he
it.
didn't sleep 1 second in 3 days.
That's crazy.
And
who's harder, David Goggins or Cameron Hayes?
They trained together.
Yeah.
At one point, didn't they?
Yeah, they said they were doing like a half marathon or full marathon, and then they went to the gym to hit weights.
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, everyone has their own sort of thing, and it's hard to
when you hear someone like David Goggins, it just reminds you that there's levels to everything.
Yeah, and that's when I started to learn about ultra running. I think on the Joe Rogan podcast, actually, one of the women, I think Courtney, I can't pronounce her second name, Dewar. She's one of the greatest female, not even just female, one of the greatest. She actually won one of the events. And she said she slept for about 20 minutes during when she won the 240-mile race.
And it goes 3 days as well.
Yeah, and it goes through the desert, and it's cold at night, but really hot in the day.
You have to have survival skills.
And she slept for 20 minutes, and when Goggins said he didn't sleep a minute of it, I was like, how have you done that? And she says she hallucinated so much. You can find the episode. She was like,
I think I've actually heard that episode.
She was like saying to Joe, like, I saw a white ice castle in the desert. I saw a man playing a violin. I'm like, Jesus, can you imagine that?
Just out alone in the darkness, seeing things, and you have to finish this race.
So it's something I want to do. I really want to do it after I've sort of...
What? Is it like a 50 kilometers ultramarathon? Is that what
technically anything over a marathon is technically an ultra, is classed. But, I think they'd start at 35 miles, 50 miles... and then maybe 80 miles, then 100 miles.
What's the longest you ran?
In one go?
Yeah.
It's probably just the marathon, 42. But actually, Manchester, I ran to the event and ran back after. So I probably did over 50 kilometres that day. Yeah, I did. Yeah, over 50-something kilometres.
You ran to the race?
Yeah.
Was that your warm-up?
Yeah, I did my warm-up. And then after the race, because I felt... after a bit of recovery, this is why I know that I'm stronger than last year. Because after last year's Manchester, I ran a better time, but only like second. I was in pieces, absolutely in pieces. My hamstring, my C's, my calf, everything. It took me ages to recover. But this one, I was like, okay, I've had 5-10 minutes. It was just fitness that got me. My body's actually all right. And then I jog back to the hotel, another 6k.
You have like a routine that you do. Oh, you jog back to the hotel?
I jog back to the hotel, 6k. And then it's just
that's cool though.
Yeah, I was just like, I felt okay. But, that just shows like never think like, it's not possible. Like, I've had a kid, I didn't have time, didn't have sleep. The training didn't go well, but you can still... Well, it's really inspiring for me to hear, because sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I don't really want to train today. Like we always, everyone gets that.
But the fact that you barely slept in the last 3 months, and,
that's why
you're still getting it in.
You'll find new levels to you when you have a kid, and I'm sure if people are listening to this, they've had children. If they go back to the memories of their first child in the first few weeks, they'll know what I'm talking about. Especially if they're training for something and they've have active lifestyles.
Shall I never have babies? Well,
I can't say that. But if for people like you, me, and people like with active lifestyles, it will hit you for 6. Like if you're not that active, your daily routine is just job, home, television, maybe it's not going to hit you much as bad, I would say, because really it's sort of like the same routine, but you're looking after a child in the house. But for me and you, it would just...
But also though, it's coming out of the other side. That's what really matters, isn't it? Because like you said earlier, you've had to go through not sleeping for the last 3 months and barely getting training sessions, and then still doing a sub-4 full marathon. That's like crazy. Sub-3. Sub-3.
Sub-4 sounds nice.
Sub-4 sounds fast to me.
Sub-4 sounds chill.
Sub-3, that is crazy. That's crazy.
That's the thing. And it actually, to be honest, like I'd say the last 3 months, but actually I'd never recovered from York. because I train in Thailand a lot for that, just because of family commitments and things. Yeah. And training in Thailand is so difficult for runners.
Just the weather.
Yeah, and I don't like treadmill, so I did every run outside, and it's just different level like of toughness for trying to train endurance out there.
Was it just the weather or the
humidity? Weather, yeah. It's like by 7 o'clock. I remember running in Bangkok, and like it's crazy because like the first run I did, I saw this giant Komodo, was it monitor lizard, just casually crossing my path. It's like wow. I'm there with my camera, just taking a picture, going, this is different to that Sheffield. And then the locals are just like, it's fine, just run past it. Yeah. Like they're big, big like. Across this table, they'd cover this table, and like I'm just running, zigzagging through these, and it's so hot. By 7 o'clock, you're talking like 28 degrees by 7 o'clock.
Did you used to run every day out there as well?
Yeah, and it's so difficult because you're trying to beat the sunrise before it gets too hot, but it's still too hot by 7. So it's like.
Did you do any competitions out there?
Yeah, I did a race, 10k race. I was aiming for like 37 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't even break sub 40.
What was it like? Was it hilly or quite flat?
It's just too hot.
Too hot.
It's like breathing. Like when you open the oven and there's that hot air and it goes in like your face, your mouth, or whatever. It's
like getting no oxygen whatsoever.
Yeah, it's just like that. It's just like I mean, you can do it if you've acclimatized.
Yeah.
My brother lives in Singapore. The climate is similar, and he's training for races and things. And
did you get him into running as well? Or?
Yeah, through the channel, through just like showing him footage of me running and stuff.
Because I've seen him a couple of your videos running as well. 2
of my brothers, like my eldest one, and my middle brother, he's doing it now, and he's loving the competition now. He's going to fly from Singapore to Amsterdam in October for.
Nice. Is he doing it as much as you in terms of like preparation and like?
I hope so. Nice. I tell him, be ready for Amsterdam because this is going to be an epic journey. Because I'm going to break sub 3 and you're going to get your personal best. So we're going to make Amsterdam the one.
Is that the goal for this year, like the Amsterdam?
The sub 3, yeah. That's the key race. And I'd like to break my half marathon as well.
Yeah.
I want to do 1:22. I'd love to do 1:22.
So how many races do you like on average have in a year?
That's probably about 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
But you don't race them all.
Okay.
They're just part of training camps.
Yes.
So I'll not specifically like train for the half or the 10, but I'll do them as a part of it in the training camp. You know what I mean?
I get what you mean. So what's the ultimate goal for you in terms of record and in terms of like competitions that you want to enter?
Ultimate goal is break sub 3 before I'm 40, which is 2 days after Amsterdam. So it's my last chance.
Your last chance.
Yeah, and if I do break sub 3, because of my because of the qualification times, I can sort of qualify for some of the world majors.
Yeah.
Like London, I can apply for that. Skip the ballot. You can qualify for it. Boston. I could run Boston because I've already run 3 hours.
What pace you have to get that out to enter?
You just have to be under 3:05. 3 hours 5 minutes, which I've done twice now.
Yeah.
Back-to-back years. So
nice.
I could run Boston next year, but I don't know. I'll see if I want to go America or not. But yeah, I want to run London.
You want to be going out there a bit early as well, don't you? Just to acclimatise
you'd have to go like a week early at least.
Yeah.
Just to see like what it's like. But yeah, that's the ultimate goal, sub 3, and anything's a bonus after that. Like 1:22 marathon. If I could break 1:20 marathon in my life, half marathon, that'd be unbelievable.
Yeah. You'll do it.
Maybe. It sounds tough. Imagine a 1:19 half marathon at 40 something years of age.
Can't even fathom how that would feel like.
Yeah, but yeah, the marathon, that's the ultimate goal. When I've done that, I'll decide. Maybe I'll do ultras or something. But I'll definitely keep.
Have you ever thought about? Because it sounds like extra stress to add on top of your training, having to basically plan your own programs, train yourself.
Well,
what is it like in terms of like getting trainers and coaches when you're a runner?
I mean, I'm in a running club, but that's more of a social thing. And there's people in that running club who are vast. Like some of the top ones are, they're really, really good. But I do most of the training myself, and I've come to a point where now I've tried paying for an actual professional plan, but I couldn't get on with it really. I tailored my own training from experience now, and sort of talking to people, getting key sessions here and there, and making tweaks, because I just thought when you get a plan from someone, it's sort of like
specific to them, and
it's sort of like they don't know your body, how you feel. You have to adapt to all the sessions every time, because life gets in the way. You know, you don't recover from certain sessions, and then it's like 2 days later, Jesus, that's going to take it out. You just have to adapt. So I plan my own sessions, my camp, but it's based on experience of doing plans.
What works, what doesn't work.
Exactly, yeah. And basically, I found that get better results than paying for a professional. There's a guy called Johnny Mellor. He came top 10 in the Commonwealth. For like, I think he's 2:09, 2 hours 9 minute marathon. That's elite. He's elite. He's an elite Olympic level, and I paid him for a plan, and I did it for Yorkshire, and that was my worst. That was my worst performance.
It just didn't work for you.
Yeah, I quit at 30. I quit.
Is it because
I jogged back?
You also have to know like your injuries as well.
It's sort of like if you get a plan from someone, you're sort of like thinking, I need to do it, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that. But actually, you just need to make sure you get the key sessions in.
Yeah, understanding the sport and then
having and adapting.
So what do you do to kind of increase your knowledge in the area?
It's always talking to other people, and like I say, like same with the fight game. If you go to a gym and you turn up in your gym, it's infectious. The cream of the crop will rise to the top, right? Because they're going to be at that level you want to be in.
Yep.
And they're going to get there because that's what they are. Yep. And then you weed out all the other ones that are not really going to help you.
Can't keep up.
No, you can't. So you have that circle, and in your head you think, I'm going to, talk to that guy, I'm going to talk to that woman or whatever. It's infectious. Yeah. You want to learn from those that you think you can get something from, and then you discard the ones that are not really going to help you.
What I found really helpful for me when I was in training camps was traveling to different gyms and training with different people.
Exactly.
Sometimes you walk into a gym and you see just a bunch of killers on the mats.
Exactly.
Or you walk into a training session, there's people there just beating the shit out of each other. You're like, today I have to be on my A game.
Exactly. Yeah. I think did you go to Leeds a lot?
I used to go Predators in Manchester a lot.
Yeah, and train with Mudgy as well. And
I trained with Mudgy as well. So like, I have all these sort of friends in the game that I could just now take my fighters down to as well. They get different.
I think that's the great thing with you. I think you're so even having a runner on this. I know it's mainly combat sports, but it shows that you're open to understanding things, and you're not closing your mind off to things. That's the worst thing to be, is closed.
The best thing about going to a different gym I found was when you're not the man anymure. You're just a student there, so nobody's treating you special. Nobody's looking at you for answers. You just no pressure. You just sat there soaking it all in, and that feels great. And whenever I used to doubt, sometimes when you're training and you're in camp for so long, you start doubting yourself, and you start feeling shit for like a couple of days, and you're like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then you turn up to a gym, and then you see like 5-6 killers all training.
Exactly, and there's accountability there, because you don't want to let the other guys down.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You come out of the session, you're like, actually, this is what I want to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I belong.
You need
to
be accountable for like if you've got a group of like a really solid team, it has to be like a team effort.
Yes.
You're all fighting together, because if you're letting them down in the camp, it's direct. It's not like super direct, but at the end product, it leads up to this fight, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you don't have a team, your progress gets really, really settled. But if you have a team that constantly try to progress, you could progress together. What I used to do was I used to sit down with my teammates and literally watch UFC fighters or K1 fighters and get a note on a pen and just keep writing down things and try
just being open to things. And
exactly.
You've got to be like a sponge and just take, but you've got to make sure that people that you're taking from
know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and they're better than you. They're sort of like, you want to sort of be. It's infectious. You want that. You want to be at that level. What are they doing to get that level? And that's exactly just touching on to the question before about when did it all sort of that eureka moment was. I sat down and thought, I need to find out how they build endurance, because I don't understand endurance. And then suddenly it's like heart rate zones, fuel, marathon pacing, threshold levels, heart rate,
all those things
perceived effort, fueling, hydration, carbohydrate intake. It's like planning it. I was like, in Manchester last year, I was literally getting my water bottle, seeing how many gulps it would take, and then working exactly how much carbohydrate I was taking per hour, per gulp.
That's being obsessed.
That's how you have to do it. Because I was trying to get 60 grams per hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's 4 gulps plus a gel.
Yeah.
Done the maths. I've got it in my arm, my times, my splits, everything.
Yeah. And I bet that plays a massive part in your mental mental preparation.
I'm trying to get 60 grams per carbohydrate per hour, and I need to do it.
Yeah.
How am I going to do it? And then you have to plan it all. And that's the marathon pacing. It's the discipline of understanding fuel.
So what equipment and fuel, I guess, do you take when you have a race day?
Yeah, it's expensive.
Do you have like a list of stuff that you take with you?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with running. People always say, go running, it's cheap, it's free. Man.
Not the level that you want to do.
When I did kickboxing, I had a pair of gloves, a pair of shorts, t-shirt.
Or you could borrow some sweaty gloves.
and a bag.
Yeah,
and I used that for years.
Yeah.
A good set of gloves will last years. And that was it. Yeah. And then, but with running, it's like, I've got like 20 pairs of shoes. Like even one gel, if you go for the brand I use, it's like £2, £3 per gel. And you have to train with gels every sessions, so every week you're paying for that. And then there's the carbohydrate drinks. There's so much fuel in the marathon, you have to pay for so much. So it ends up being quite pricey, to be honest. And then the shoes, like if I'm doing like 100, let's say in my peak training, there's 100k a week on average or whatever. You're changing shoes every like 600-700k,
and they're not cheap.
No, that's what I'm saying. So it's like you can go through shoes like that and burn through them, and it's like ends up being quite pricey. So yeah, it becomes expensive, to be honest, all the equipment and stuff. So you have to sort of like start doing that as well, because you have to start.
Do you have a favorite pair of trainers that you?
Depends what session, but for the marathon, I'm using like the ones with the carbon plates in them.
Yeah,
that seems to be like what people use, and it's mainly really to protect you really from injuries really, because it's the shoe. I mean, you can run a fast time in any shoe. Let's be honest. It's not going to make or break your foot. It's like gloves, right? You might have a favorite pair of gloves. You might feel a little better, but at the end of the day, you're
still punching.
Yeah, you're still punching, and it's not going to make. It's not. I don't think anyone's going to say I lost the fight because I had XYZ gloves or shorts or whatever. You lost the fight because something happened. But same with shoes, really. It's like that, but it's the fueling that's the biggest.
I guess mentally as well, you have to know that you're hitting every single thing necessary to do your best. So
it's the margins. So maybe the shoes make you feel more comfortable, but they also protect you from. Let's say if I did a long run. Let's say I did a long run session leading up to a marathon. I would wear if it's a session where there's like intensity running in it, like I would use the carbon plates that I'm gonna race in.
Yeah.
But if it's sort of like an easier long run, I'd use like a cushion shoe or something like that. But it's just to protect your legs. And
do you still have room in the house with all the shoes that you bought?
It's filling up. I've had to put a curb on it, to be honest, because it's just getting a bit silly.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap, but
How long have you been running for now? Was it 5-6 years?
No, less than that. I think 2000. I think 2019 was when I did the Yorkshire Marathon with my wife, and that was the one that set all the running off.
Okay.
I think it was 2019, and it wasn't till sort of later, maybe the next year, where I started to get a bit more serious.
I feel like you got so good so quick that it feels like you've done it for ages, but you haven't actually done it for that long.
So my progression's been massive.
Yes.
Like my first marathon was 4:50, then I went to 3:44, and then 3:15, and 3 hours. So I've gone from like an average time, or even below average time, to a Boston qualifier. You know what I mean? In like the space of a few years.
But I think paying attention to the little details and being super intricate would have made a massive difference.
Yeah, massive, huge, like the chunks. And my half marathon time was like 1:52 1:32, my first one.
And
then I staggered for 1:40s, just over 1:40s for ages.
Did someone break the record today of the full
London record? Yeah, the second fastest time.
Second fastest time.
It's the course record, and it's the second fastest world time.
What was the time?
It was 2 hours and 1 minute something.
Mm.
Not far off world record, which is held by Kipchoge.
Is there anybody that you, I guess, admire and look up to when it comes to running, apart from David Goggins, because everybody loves David?
I think for running, I think there's no specific one. I think there's just like high level elite athletes in general. You know, I think with the running, it's sort of like everyone really is like supportive of each other. There's like, it's like really like everyone's trying to get their goals, and even on the course in Manchester, people passing me water and stuff because I'd missed it, and he gave me a bottle.
It's different when you understand what someone is going through mentally. You build a kind of weird bond.
Sort of
Did you have that sense of community like you did with kickboxing with your running?
Yeah, I do. I think the running community is really, really nice. To be honest, it's been really supportive, and I think it's the same, isn't it? If you build your network with good people, you're gonna perform better. Yeah. So it's up to you to really to perform. You know, to build that network. And I like that
it sounds like you're keeping an open mind, because I know with lots of sports, people when they get to a certain level, they start to think that you know, they know it all.
Oh yeah.
Or they adopt a philosophy and they kind of don't go away from that whatsoever.
Worst thing to do is like to do that.
Yeah, just try and have. There's got to be a bunch of people that you look up to, but take the good things from each one. They all provide something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess it feels a bit more relatable when the person is right next to you that you're looking up to, that you look for inspiration to.
Absolutely.
And I bet there's lots of people that look at you as inspiration. So you always have that sense of pressure, but I guess good pressure, because you know
it's good pressure as well. Yeah, I mean, when I've done the channel, I just wanted to like learn video editing. I never thought I'd get people in the events coming up to me and asking how my child is and how life's going. I don't know these guys. Like,
that makes me want to do some more running.
but when it's the best thing is when I get messages and people telling me in person saying I started running because I watched your channel.
Nice.
And watched you sort of run the Manchester Marathon.
Well, I started running because
and that's insane.
Of you. I think my whole team started running because of you.
Yeah, exactly. But
they came out and they were like, running is not as hard as, you know, I've been making out to be these last year, just trying to kill myself every run that I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess that's what it's about, because it gives you that sense of purpose in life as well, which I think everybody just should have.
And my mum ran, but she didn't run, she walked the Sheffield half, and she's 70 plus years old.
That's impressive.
You know, and my two brothers were football guys, and now they're running. And one of them's like, you know, getting into that level of like, he wants to compete. He ran in the Singapore Marathon, but now he wants redemption because he felt it.
I don't know about you, but since like I started coaching, I've got my brothers come to train. My sisters come to train. Yeah. And to me, that's like one of the...
He took a big break, right?
Yeah, he's back. He's doing
I've
bits.
Seen him on the pictures, man.
Still doing well. Still got those high kicks.
Yeah.
But and my older brother comes in. He's my eldest one. He's
I don't think I've met him.
You've not met him. No. He used to do martial arts when I was very little. So I always knew how to do a spinning kick, for example, just through my older brothers. But now that they're back in training,
it's a good feeling, right?
It's so good. I think that makes all the years that I've trained, that I put into the sport, just the fact that I have a place for them to come and train and learn, that makes it all worth it.
And it's like, it's good because they're family, right? And you want them to be healthy as well.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest thing for me. I'm just like, the more people that pick up running or any sport, it doesn't have to be running, but inspired to just get up off the couch and do something that you didn't think you could do.
Yeah.
Just look around, people are doing it, and if you want it, go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's healthy. It's positive.
And it hits different when there's someone close to you.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's so good to see my family running. I just need to get my dad on it now, but he might be a tough one to crack.
Does he sound tempted at all?
No, he always says the same thing. Don't do too much running at your intensity. It's bad for you. He's just scared I'm going to pass out. Yeah. He sends me links like, look at this guy, he died in the marathon. I was like, yeah, I know, I've seen it, but, you know, I'm like, yeah,
still gonna do it.
Yeah, because you know, yeah, a lot of people do like die in like these running events, and it is scary because I'm not professional, I'm not getting paid for it, and it does play on my mind a little bit, like what happens if my heart just suddenly stopped beating, or something happened, you know what I mean? I do think about that, but and I do see where my parents come from, but
the thing that running given you,
yeah,
I mean, there has to be a level of risk.
Yeah, exactly.
To get the things that you get from running,
and I always say, like, that's true, I could, but there's probably the percentage of me having something like heart disease or being out of shape, you know, like the amount of like people that are unhealthy, the chances of them having it is a lot higher, right?
Exactly.
Than like the minuscule population that die from running. You know,
and you're doing it smart. You know, you're paying attention to the details.
That makes you more like, because it's just like I say, like it could be your knee, it could be your ankle, but it's when it's like the organs, the heart and stuff, it's a little bit more like scary. Cause
it's almost not in your control.
Yeah, because you never know what's going on. When someone collapses, if it's an ankle, it'd be like, okay, they're going to be fine, right?
Yeah.
You can heal bones and knees and things and sore backs, but when it's like the staff don't really know what's going on, they're giving them oxygen, it's like, oh God, is it heart? Is he having a stroke? Is it a heart attack? You know, I think that there was a guy from MasterChef called, he was really healthy. He ran back-to-back marathons. I think he did Manchester and then London a few years ago, and he died in one of them. The second one he did, I'm not sure which one was first, but he died. He did it back-to-back weekends.
Was it a heart attack?
I think so, yeah. He was healthy. He was on MasterChef. He was, healthy, young. He ran a good time as well. I think he was like 3:20, 3:30. So he was quite competitive. But he did it back-to-back, and it's just like, he just died. And it's like, Jesus, if healthy, well-trained people can just drop, you know, it does play on your mind. But like you said, there's risks and everything. And I think the risk is bigger if you don't do any exercise. You know what I mean?
I agree.
It has to be bigger, right? Cause
I agree.
People in the NHS just, you know, on pills and medicine from being like, you know, not exercising.
I mean, it's the best form of, for me, having negative mindset, just getting into some sort of sport, something with a competition. It doesn't have to be fighting, for example, if you're doing kickboxing, but just have a goal for yourself. I've seen some of your
videos when you sort of go to a quiet place and you shadow box and you record a little bit.
Yeah. And
that is just like pure straight meditation, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just, that is so like helpful.
That's one of my favorite things to do.
That's it, yeah.
Just be in my zone.
I love that.
Yeah. I don't even listen to music when I shadow box or anything.
That's it. I never listen to music on my long run session, ever.
No.
Ever. I want...
Do you listen to anything when you run?
Sometimes podcasts.
Audiobooks.
That's only for easy running.
Yeah.
And it's rare, but it's only for easy running. If it's a session, never, ever.
Yeah.
I have to be with it.
Yeah.
And I would say...
Focus on your breathing.
I would say if you're doing combat sports and things, try when you do your cardio sessions. Just be with yourself.
When I do my classes, at the end of it, usually we do like 5 to 10 minutes of a quick circuit. It's like...
You got a treadmill in there now.
We got a treadmill. Yeah. We got some bikes good. As well. But at the end of it, I do this thing where they jog on the spot for about 5 to 6 minutes. Yeah. And I just shove exercises. So it'll be like jog on the spot, style jumps. And when I do that with them, I never put any music on.
Yeah.
Just listen to your thoughts and just keep going.
Sometimes you gotta be with it and be with yourself.
And it's just keeping your focus as well, because I think focus is one of the main things in every sport at that high level. Because if you're running and you have all these things going on in your head and you're not focused on your breathing.
Yeah, exactly.
When I go more than 10, 12 kilometers, I got like really start listening to my breathing. Yeah. Really starting to try.
I couldn't think of anything worse than listening to music in that last 7K of a marathon.
I'd just be irritating, wouldn't it?
Oh man, I would just throw them out.
Yeah.
Like whatever, I just toss them out, and especially if it's like some up tempo thing.
That'd be the worst.
Oh man,
I can't even do bag work with that one.
That was insane because like the crowd's already elevating the adrenaline, and you need that adrenaline at some point in the race, maybe to finish.
Yeah.
But the whole point of the marathon, you have to be so disciplined.
That's mental training, isn't it? You got to face the problem head on. You're not trying to distract yourself.
The crowd is a big problem. Yeah. It's a good thing when you use it in the right time. But if you suddenly get this big, like sometimes you go through parts of the city that are really packed with crowd, and then suddenly you go, oh my God, I've run 3-4 km here probably at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 faster than I should be. That's 3, 4 km too close to your threshold already, banked in the, you know what I mean? So you've produced lactate through those 3, 4 km. It's that fine when you're talking like this.
Yeah, game of inches.
Yeah, it's the margin. Like, I asked people in, like, there's a big group online in the Facebook sub-3 marathon group, like nearly 20,000 people in that. It's all people aspiring or already in that group, or aiming to be in it. And a lot of them said the same thing. You ran a few of those splits too fast. And I said, I know. I look back on it now. I know. I ran them too fast. I ran them probably like 5 seconds, a bit too fast each one.
So do you think,
it's just too fast?
When you said earlier that some people, you see them and they're in later ages and they're still doing really, really well running. Yeah. Do you think that comes with the fact that they might have just done it for longer, so they got to the point of knowing how to really manage their time? And
I think it's a mixture of both, because like you can pick up running really late.
Yeah.
And as long as you're a sponge and you do things like really intensely, like I'm doing it, you can excel really quickly. But you know, in the grand scheme of things, professionals and things like that, you have to start quite early, and you have to get consistency in, because you have to build your aerobic fitness, you know, or like your blood vessels, and train your body to have a bigger heart. We were talking about running fast all the time. When you run fast all the time, you won't build like a bigger heart, or you won't get things that you do when you're in like a lower zone. You know, it's like these things like when you're in a lower zone, you allow your body to use oxygen properly. If you never allow your body to use oxygen properly, it's never going to understand that. Yes. It's always pushed to the point where you're flooded with lactate. So it just gets used to that. Yeah. It doesn't ever get a chance to do all the things that it needs to do. You got to
build the engine.
Yeah. It's got to understand, like, all the things, like the biggest slab at the bottom is your aerobic capacity. It's like the biggest slab of endurance is building that. I think you've got a triathlete, haven't you, coming on the show or something?
Yeah, Jen. That'll be really interesting to speak to.
I'm sure they'll talk about endurance in other sports, but it's very similar, you know. It's for endurance sports is not like it's very different. It's such a pure sport. It's not like you said before, we're not fighting against somebody. It's not like an opponent changes. It's like the opponent is you and time, and time never changes. So there's no weakness in time. It shows up on time every time in the same performance every time. So it's up to you to crack the puzzle of your endurance for your body, and how you get the absolute maximum potential out of your endurance for you. Just like it's just an ongoing puzzle. And if you've started at 12 in an athletics club, running fast times when you're a kid growing up, you're going to build such a massive endurance over the years.
Yes.
And then, you know, if you're talking about professionals, they've been doing it for years. Consistency is there. They've built the neuromuscular motor skills, cadence, the fast twitch, and they can pace.
It's almost like they're too far ahead because they've had the hours.
There's just like there's a guy who is from Switzerland, I think, and he one day just said, I'm moving to Kenya. He told his parents, I'm just moving to Kenya. And they said, okay, why? He says, I want to be one of the best runners. You know, he's like European champion. He set 10k records in Europe. He moved to the marathon, and you know, he ran on an off day. He ran a 2:11, 2 hours 11 minutes on an off day. He went for a shit, ran a car.
Yeah.
And still ran 2:11. And he did that 3 times during the run because his stomach was in knots.
Is he quite young?
Yeah, I think he's still quite young. Yeah, he's a young guy. He was. He lives in Kenya now. You know.
What's his name?
Julian Wonders.
Julian Wonders.
This white guy. He's a really good athlete. You know, he's got a big future ahead. But there's a lot of Westerners go over to train now for big camps because of the altitude as well.
Is it because of the altitude or the training and the people they be around?
The people as well, because when people go to train in Kenya and stuff, it's like Africans don't run for hobby. It's life, you know. I read a book about all Kenyan running, and it was a big eye-opener because it was like they don't run for like we Westerners do. We do it for fitness and hobby. Over there, 90% do it for a way to escape poverty and to do it as a job. And they live on site, you know what I mean? It's like...
It's a different type of grind.
Different, yeah, mentality. It's like life.
It's like Thai boxing in Thailand. That's what people do.
Yeah. Probably a good example. Yeah, a lot of them do it because they see that as a way to make money for the family. They'll go live in a different part of town to train at the camp. You know, whereas we don't do that. We have a lot of recreation, hobbyists. That do it for like fitness and stuff. But over there, it's like imagine being around. Imagine training with people that are doing it to like escape poverty and provide for the family, compared to I'm doing it because
they're always gonna have a different type of hunger.
So like the Westerners that go over there to train, they've got that.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about circles and making that circle tight.
Yeah.
And then you've got the altitude, so it's high altitude, and then you've got the terrain. It's hilly, man. It's brutal. Yeah.
I went to Kenya.
Yeah, I know you did.
It was really hot.
But you were chilling, right?
I was not running. I was not running ultra marathons or anything like that. Is there any sort of documentaries or books that you recommend for people to either just really enjoy or watch if they wanna, or read if they wanna start running?
Yeah, man. I mean, like I say, they mentioned the book about Kenya. I think that was an eye opener for me to see what it was like for another sort of like the best in the world.
Yeah.
How they train, what they're eating. Like I think one of the crazy things was like some of the people training in those camps, they don't even know what processed food was. They're eating that clean. You know what I mean? And I think one of the stories in there was that they have to drive out of town to another town to get a birthday cake in.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because around them, they're eating like off the land. They're not messing with the food like
no distractions.
Yeah, it's like over here. It's like it's really hard to go into a soup. Like you go into a Tesco's Express. It's like, what do you grab if you want something quickly and healthy? It's like even the sandwiches. You look at them and it's just like.
Or you drive past KFC.
Yeah, it's like full of mayo and it's like in a packet, wrapper in, it's like preservatives in it. It's like, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
We mess with our food too much here just because of the mass production. But over there, it's like they're eating so clean. And like some of them don't even know what fast food is.
Yeah.
They don't even know what processed food is. You know what I mean? They're not messing with the food. So that was like one of the things I was like, wow, yeah, that's a good point, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then lifestyle about it's life over there, not a hobby.
Yeah.
So that's a mentality thing. That's like, it's a different level, isn't it?
What was that book called?
It's Running with the Kenyans.
Running with the Kenyans.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can put the link in the description or something like that. And that's a good book if you want to sort of like open your mind up to like, being open, just seeing how, and then they are the best in the world.
Yeah. And
seeing how they live and what it's like. And that's a great book to read, to be honest.
And there was a documentary you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I like the one you probably know about when Kipchoge broke the sub 2 hour marathon. There's a whole document.
Oh, that'd be interesting to see. Yeah.
And we were talking about the team, like in combat sports, of how it adds to the success.
Yeah.
Watch that documentary. It's called The Last Mile. You'll see the team of breaking 2 hours. It's like the biggest team ever to get that man to do that. Like literally, they literally had a team of like physics and all this stuff to calculate how much wind resistance would be the least if they made a formation of people around him running that 2 hour marathon.
That makes a difference.
It's
into
insane.
Breaking
They
the
ran it through these machines like from F1 and stuff, and it was insane. They changed the route and raised certain parts of the route when he was cornering, because they did it in Vienna, I think, on just like a stretch back and forth, because they needed it to be as straight as possible. But obviously you can't. They found a very long straight. I think that's why they did it in Vienna. There's a part of there where it's a very long straight, and then obviously it has to end somewhere. So they made him turn back on himself. But to not lose the amount of time, they tried to raise part of the concrete ground to make it like a running track, so he could just like not lose any seconds off it. Things like that, yeah. Basically, there was so many people involved.
What was that documentary called?
The Last Mile, and that was it was not in a race. It's not gone down as world record because it's not a race. It's a time trial.
Yeah.
To see if a human could run 26.2 miles
It's like a science project.
Yeah, exactly. If it was possible, and he did it, And
has anyone attempted it since?
Himself, yeah. In what was it? In Berlin last year, I think maybe last year. He set off at the pace, but then he slowed down in the second half. He ran a fast time. He won the event, but yeah.
Has anybody come close?
No,
he's the man.
Not in a race, no. Because you'll see in the documentary if you watch it, like how much effort it takes to get. And the pacers as well. They got all like the elite runners around the world to help him pace. So obviously they'd do a section, then they'd switch pacing. So they had to practice the formation of when to change. How are you going to change? It was just so complicated.
Imagine the pressure.
Yeah, and it was like it failed before. They tried it first time, and he failed, and then the second time they managed to do it. But if you watch the documentary, it's just like it'll blow your mind because it's like. There's so many people involved to try and get him to do that. And
at least he broke the record.
Yeah, and it's insane. It's like he's literally on a pedestal in the whole population of mankind. It was like a moment of landing on the moon. It's like, is it possible for a human being to run that distance under 2 hours?
And he did it.
Yeah, with a lot of help, but the answer was yes. It's possible. It's crazy. It's possible.
It's basically having that dedicated team just at a higher, different level.
Yeah.
It's very important in every sport.
Yeah. It's absolutely crazy.
So I think that's I'm most definitely going to watch the documentary.
It's amazing.
I think we are really good.
It's amazing.
Insight.
And you'll see like things that you never even thought about when you watch that. It's incredible.
I watched one about a cyclist, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Where he had to do some of the training sessions indoors because of the weather conditions are somewhere. And I think he was trying to go from one country to a few of them over a couple of days or something. And he was the exact same thing. They had to make special bars for him to take at certain times. And it was just whole science project.
On face value, you don't get it. But when you delve into like the team behind it, it's insane.
So apart from eventually getting a good team of people around you, if you don't already have it, is there any sort of pointers or advice you would give anyone that, I guess we could split the question into two parts. So number one, for someone who just wants to casually start running but do it at a decent level where it becomes their thing, what sort of advice would you give them?
Belief. Yeah, the first thing. Before any physical changes can happen, your mentality has to believe it. Because how many times you maybe bumped into people who say, oh yeah, I want to get fit, but what do they do to get there? Nothing. It's easy to say it.
The idea sounds good.
Yeah. How many people, it comes after Christmas, they put the pounds on, and they say, this year I'm going to do X, Y, Z, But they never say, how are you going to do it? Yeah. How are you going to do it? It's all nice, all the words and things, but how are you going to do it? And people just don't get to that point. They just say the words. I'm going to do this. How are you going to do it? Write it down on a paper. Say it to yourself. Have some accountability.
So much access to information as well.
Yeah. Well, how are you going to do it? Tell me. And they have no idea. They just say, I'm just going to go to the gym. How are you going to make sure you go to the gym? Yeah. Oh, I'll just do it. Yeah. I've got time here, I've got time there. How are you going to manage your time if this happens, X, Y, Z?
What is your goal?
Yeah.
What are you trying to achieve?
Like believe that you can do it, because when they say things like, oh, I've got kids, I don't have the time, I don't believe that. Because I see people with kids doing incredible things.
Yeah.
So that's already your argument's gone. And there's no way that you're not wasting time watching Netflix, on your phone, messing around, doing things,
It just sounds way nicer than going out in the rain to run a couple of miles.
Exactly. It's like you have the time, but you just don't want it enough.
Yeah.
But you just want the results without any of the hard work.
So
you can't come. It's just belief. Yeah, believe that. Like when I started running, I could never even imagine running like a 1:23 half marathon ever.
So far-fetched, and now you're doing it.
Yeah, because I didn't believe I could do it. I would say, oh, he must be good at running. He must be just naturally fit. It's like,
genetic makeup.
Bullshit. It's just he wanted it more. He sacrificed his time. He didn't go out on a Saturday night because he or she knew she had a long run in the Sunday morning. She sacrificed a Saturday night. She's not out drinking. You know, she's in bed at 9:30.
It's work.
Exactly, and she's up at 4. She's up at 4. You know, most people are out at 10:30, drinking in a bar, and then they're in bed in the morning. I'll come home, people are still in bed, and I've just run from Chesterfield to Rother Valley and back. You know what I mean? That's because I want it, right?
Yeah.
I want it, and I know that I've got family stuff now, so I need to get back before they their day starts. You know?
Does your goals still seem as important as it did before you had Hugo?
It's difficult. That's a good question, man.
Because I feel like it could go two ways. One could be let me get this.
Yeah.
Let me get this goal.
Yeah.
Some more now because I have a kid that's going to look up to me one day, and the other part's like, well, my priorities have changed. I have all these excuses.
That's a brilliant question, because at the moment I'm still transitioning. I'm really transitioning for this new lifestyle.
Yeah.
And at the moment I'm still sort of finding out that question. Like I hope that when I break sub 3, because it will come, I just have to be patient. But when I break it, I hope I don't just get lazy.
I've done it all now.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it could happen because, you know, the kid gets older, you start doing family things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you need to balance it out.
But I think because you have that goal now,
yeah,
it pushes you more to still try and achieve it. I think after that,
I think
you need some new goals.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as long as you balance it out and people around you are happy, you'll be happier and you'll perform better anyway.
And it's your identity. You're a runner now.
It's like you have to just adapt, and you get stronger and adapt.
Yeah.
And there's no excuses. It's like people have kids, people do things, people are busy, and they do remarkable things. So where's my excuse? If they can do it, I can do it. Why not? Believe. Just get up and go. Just stop watching Netflix for like 2-3 days, and instead of that film you're watching.
I think that's a really good, realistic advice that some people need to hear.
Absolutely. Just first off, before any physical changes, change your mindset first. Believe. Just believe you can.
Or do a little bit.
Yeah.
Better than doing nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't watch TV for like 3-4 days in a row.
Yeah.
And instead replace it with something. We can all sit there and make excuses.
Yeah.
And I hear that one most. That was the biggest one that sort of made me self-doubt. People kept saying, oh, you can't run like you do when you've got Hugo.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to be able to do it. You know, a lot of people said that to me. Passing general conversation.
Yes.
Not like aggressively, but like, and I'd just be like, yeah, I know, but. And it did, like I say, I struggled and it did play, but...
I bet there were times where you thought they were right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely, in that first 2 weeks, I was like, you know, like I said to you, I might just make a video on the channel and say I'm taking a break.
Yeah.
I might not do the sub 3 this year, maybe next year, but no.
How's your channel doing now?
It's doing all right. Since it's gone over the 1,000 mark, it's starting to roll, and more people see me at events.
The Woo on YouTube, make sure you check it out.
Check it out. And basically, if you want to get into running or something, just check it out. You might not be into it, but it's still, like I say, you can learn off anything.
Well, I've learned quite a few things.
Yeah, you can learn off any
sure.
sport. There's going to be something that you pick up. Just don't be closed-minded. I know a lot of people watching this will be from combat sports, but you know, I did used to train combat sports, and I've learned so much from combat sports, and that was probably a great time in my life. I got really strong, met some great people, you know, friends and things, and it was a massive, like such a positive thing for me to do combat sports in my life, not just like sporting, but in life. I'd recommend it for anyone.
Do you think it's helped you? Because I know when I do other sports, I feel like I find it easier to break down techniques because I'm able to take in information and like break it down bit by bit when I'm doing a technique.
Exactly.
Did you find that doing kickboxing helped a lot with running?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. First of all, for kickboxing made me stronger and more confident in general in life. And if you're in a better place in life, you'll train better.
Yes.
You know, and kickboxing, combat sports was just such a big part of my life, because before I did that, I was pretty much a bum. I wasn't doing.
You're not training at all, was it?
Nah, I wasn't training. I was like pretty much doing nothing. You know, I was pretty drifting in life.
So what made you want to get into kickboxing?
It was watching videos of K1 and Crow Cop and Fedor Emelianenko, and
Do you have someone that you were looking up to at that time and wanted to like that really got you into martial arts?
Just watching these guys perform, and I was like obsessed with technique, like I was saying, like I was obsessed with his left high kick and his body kick, and it was different to everyone else's. Yeah. And I'd watch Fedor smash these big guys and thinking, how can he do it? He's only like 5'11", maybe 5'10", and he's beating these guys 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5",
and he's doing it time and time and time again.
Yeah, and I'm just like, Jesus, like how does he do it? And then I'm interested in the train, and then I was like, guys, like I used to compete at AFK. I was like, we're gonna start training combat sports.
Nice.
I'm gonna set a date and we're gonna go. And we actually. We went to another gym. I won't mention it, but we went to another gym. And was like, nah, this is not for us. It was clearly not the right one.
Yeah.
And then we got to.
That's a shame, because that puts a lot of people off, and they never go back.
Yeah,
when they go
massively.
to like a bad.
Yeah.
Have a bad
experience. The first thing they asked was for my debit details. I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? They said you need to make 160. So they were like, you need to buy XYZ. You need to give us your bank details. Sign up for this. And I was like, well, what about equipment? Can I wear my own shorts? I've got my own shorts. I was like, no, you need to buy this. I was like, no. So we were out of there, and I was like, well, I'll go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And then I found AFK, and I was like, we're going to go to this. And I got him to drive. I was like, you driving me? Come on, let's go. Nice. If you ever talk to him, he'll tell you, like, we drove and we got there, and it was like, this is it. That's the start of the journey.
Yeah. Did you feel really nervous that first day?
Definitely. I walked in. Oh man, that first day, because that gym in Sydney Street was like rocky star. But I like that. Yeah, that was a great feeling. I walked up them stairs and I could just hear.
It would either make you or break you, that gym.
I remember I came up those stairs and I could just hear like savagery going off, because there was a sparring session.
Yeah.
Because I was turning up for the beginner class, and I think it was the beginner class after the fights class.
Yes, it was.
And I could just hear like savage just happen. And I was just like, Jesus, this gym looks rough. And then I got in there, and everyone's just watching these fighters in the ring, just going at it. I was watching these guys and thinking, I love this. This is amazing. And then I just got obsessed with that. And then quickly, I would say my technique got pretty good. And then fitness came, and I was just like loving it. And then I slowly, after the years, I just gravitated to like you guys, Khalid, there was Crampton, there was Ahmed Bilal. He was like there, and it was just that was a good era, wasn't it?
It was such a good team.
Man, that was solid, and I just loved being a part of those sort of camps. And
you.
And then you put me in hospital, and then I'm like, maybe not.
I still feel bad about it.
No. That was good, because I know that.
Do you know why I feel bad about it? I think I was fighting 2 weeks after we were sparring.
Yeah.
And I saw you turn to the side, and I saw your ribs.
Yeah.
And I had like a split second to think about whether hitting it.
It was just a perfect shot, man.
Yeah, like it was almost like here's some ribs. Yeah. Should I hit it or should I not hit it? And because I was preparing for a fight. Yeah. I was always going to hit it. Yeah. I was always going to throw a punch, and I just.
But that's my role. My role was that. I don't regret it for a second. That was my role. That was what I wanted to do.
But we never got to see you fight. But the things that you brought to the team was really important. I think good technique, having good technique, being able to hold pads, just being part of the team, and just being around good people. Definitely, like you said. Every time I used to go into the gym, I used to see you already sweating. Yeah. Like you've already been there an hour before. I was
always there early, man. Yeah. And I had to just.
And I used to think that sometimes I'd be on my way to the gym, or like I'll have 2 hours before getting to the gym. It'll prompt me to get up and get to the gym, because I'd be like, well, Will's going to be there anyway. The gym will be open.
There was always the familiar faces there early.
Yeah.
Like I say, I think Khalid was there a lot early, and he was
just
skipping. He'd already done like maybe eight rounds.
Yeah.
So I started to do it. Yeah. I'd grab a rope. I'm not talking to him. I'm not going to interrupt him, am I? And say, yo, how you doing?
We're there to train.
I'm there to work. I'll talk to him later when it's all done. But that's what I mean. It's infectious. If there's 3 or 4 guys there already on the phones talking about last night's TV, that's going to rub off on every single person that walks through that gym. Yeah. But we had a solid crew. Like Crampton was there, Ahmed, you, and there was loads of other people there. Yeah. It was just like, and I think solid. Solid.
It's very important, because like with my guys now, we have like a structure in place where everyone knows what to do for a warm-up. Everyone knows what to do as a stretching. And I don't have so much of. Sometimes I still do it when they come in late or whatever. But I don't really have that thing where I'm going in and I'm telling people it's time to warm up. You know, you just do what you need to do.
Definitely.
So you're not wasting any time. When it's time to learn the techniques, you've already done the little bits that you don't need the coach to tell you to do.
Isn't it?
I think.
And that's the mental side as well, isn't
exactly,
it?
And I think
the consistency of doing that.
And you get complacent with picking up bad habits. Like if you're shadowboxing and you're talking to your teammate and you're shadowboxing, or you not really there when you're doing your footwork, you pick up bad habits. Definitely. And every single second that you spend in the gym, especially if you're competing for something like kickboxing, where someone is gonna bounce their shin over your head, you should every single second needs to be of you being focused. But I think when you do it for such a long time, it becomes almost like second nature, the things that you do, where you lose that focus, where you don't have to think about it as much. Do you feel like you've ever been at a place where you started to run because you were a runner and you didn't actually enjoy running? Have you gone to that stage? Have you been through that stage
where I don't enjoy running, like in my training?
Like, it's like, or maybe you sign up to a competition and you're like, I'm only signing up to this because this is what I do. I'm willing, I'll run, and this is what I do. I compete.
Yeah, I mean, I sign up to a lot of things, but you know, when I'm training, there's periods where I just don't enjoy it. There is periods where I don't enjoy it, and I just know I have to do it. And that's, I mean, like I say, not everyone's like that.
No,
it's just because I want them goals, and then I will go through the parts where I don't enjoy it.
But that comes with experience, and just over time you learn to find out what's really important. And if you miss a couple of hours of training, it's going to play a big part in competition.
Some people won't care, but it'll be on my mind. Like sometimes I'll, like, if I'm not got the right session in, and I'm not satisfied with it, it'll be on my mind.
When you're running at the race days where they're like, I missed that training session, or you know,
it plays on your mind, especially like when I know that I could have done something. That's the biggest thing. If I know that I could have, there's always times with life like you can't do something. There's legitimate things, but if you're conning yourself and saying, "Oh, I didn't have time to do that," you know what I mean? You'll know. Other people won't know, but you'll know, and that's why the marathon's so great. It'll find you out.
And that's why it's really important to be in competition with yourself. Because you'll have those talks with yourself.
You'll get found out. If not, you can fool everyone else, but if like the marathon will find you out. And I know if you're telling people you do this X, Y, Z, and then you turn up to a race day, and if you know deep down why
when you get to the deep waters, you start questioning yourself.
You'll question yourself and say you know deep down why this happened.
And it could either break you or make you, because the next time you have a race coming up, you're like, well, am I going to do the same thing as I did last time?
It's on your mind all the time.
Oh, am I just going to...
And that's what will be in Amsterdam. I'll think 35k is coming up. I know what 35k has done to me in the last two races. You know, have I answered the question, reality, have you prepared for this final intensity that you know it's a beast? Have you done your work? And you'll find out at the end of it.
Man, I feel like I should get my shoes on now and start running.
Let's go. You know what? When you gave me the address to here, I checked how many miles it was. It's 6 miles. And I checked the running route.
You could have run.
And I was thinking, I might run here and run back, but the only thing is I need to pick something up after this.
That would have been light work for you.
And I'm pretty sore from last week, so I thought, okay, I'll give it a miss. I'll drive here. But I did think about it. I googled it and had a look at the roads.
I think what would be really good, Will, I wrote down some rapid fire questions.
Okay,
Just a bit of fun. You could think about the questions, but try not to think about them too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go, man.
So, favorite race?
Favorite race would be the one with my brother, and that's not even me running. That was with him doing his first marathon, because he was inspired by me, and he hit the wall, fell down, collapsed in cramp and agony with 1k to go. 1k to go, he collapsed, and then we managed to get him up and we walked him across the line with the medical staff, and that was just incredible.
That must have been really special.
That's my favourite episode, and it's got so many, it's got thousands of views, people loved it, and they found it inspirational, and that's not even me racing, but that's my favourite. I wasn't racing, but it's my favourite race, definitely that.
Good choice.
Great story.
Running in hot or in cold conditions?
Cold. Yeah, cold, man. Definitely. Cold.
John Jones or GSP?
I'm going to say... Oh, jeez. I'm going to say John Jones. Do you want to know why, or is that it?
I was going to say...
I'm going to say John Jones.
Can you say John Jones if he was accused of cheating?
Well, here's the thing. GSP left before USADA.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
That's a good argument.
And I'm not saying he's on it, but if everyone else was on it, was he on it? And why did he leave then?
That's the other thing.
That's why.
Yeah.
And John Jones was in the game, and he's sort of been in it. And I think GSP left too early. That's it. That's the only reason. He left too early.
I might have a weird definition of GOAT, but when I think about the GOATs of the sports, they're not necessarily always the best fighters or the best boxers.
Resume.
Yeah, for me, Ali is the GOAT.
Right, okay.
But he got beat before. And so when I think about GOATs, I always kind of add that element to it. So for me, it's always difficult between GSP and John Jones, because John Jones is probably, to me, is the most talented.
Are you picking?
It's the most talented fighter, John Jones. But I just love GSP, man.
Yeah, I'm basing it on, I think, the only reason I think GSP left too early, before the big questions were answered. Yeah. I would say that. That's the only thing.
Okay. I can't argue with John Jones anyway. Haaland or Mbappe?
I would say Haaland.
Okay, tell me why.
This is the thing. If I'm a manager, I would pick Haaland. But if I wanted to be a player myself, I'm picking Mbappe.
I think I would say the opposite with the same argument.
Oh, wow.
Because
you don't want the flashiness of Mbappe, because that'd be cool to have the skills, right?
That's true. But I'm just thinking, Mbappe carried France in the finals and scored 4 goals.
That's true. That was incredible.
That just kind of wins it for me.
Okay. That's a good
and
thing.
He's very young.
Yeah.
Very young.
Yeah.
So imagine where he would be in 5-6 years, 7 years.
I'm going to base it on, if I was a manager and if I wanted a player that I could sort of build a team around, just like Pep's, it seems like he's literally the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, just
right now.
Perfectly.
I think he's going to elevate them to take everything. Like the Champions League. Pep's never won it with Man City. I think Haaland is that piece.
It's just a shame.
And I think if Mbappe joined Man City, I don't think he would have been that piece, is what I'm saying.
But I think PSG just shit as well. He just needs to move from he needs to move from there.
Yeah. It's a hard one. I'd like to be Mbappe.
I want to be Mbappe.
Yeah, I want to be Mbappe, but if I'm a manager, I'm going to pick Haaland.
Okay, fair enough. I think these questions are all going to be hard.
Oh, man,
apart from this next one, actually, because you could either be sweet or savoury.
Sweet.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that one. I knew that one wasn't. Okay, running or kickboxing?
Running now for sure, but I don't regret. I don't regret missing out. I never say I wish I got into running when I was 12 because kickboxing was an unbelievable part of my life.
Yes,
and it built me to who I am now. So a difficult one, impossible.
Perfect answer. I would have been disappointed if we started running straight away, especially.
Nah, it's one of those ones that everything happened for a reason.
Yes,
and I can't imagine not having those that decade of it. No.
Okay, running in the morning or night times?
Morning now.
Yeah.
Before running at night time.
Why now?
Now because as you get more competitive, you need to train the fueling, timing.
Right.
And the time of run is in the morning. it's always going to be a morning race.
Yeah.
And you want to
adjust your body.
Yeah, the tactics all start with the timing for the 2 days before a marathon.
Yeah.
And it starts like on a Thursday. So I'll start hydration on a Thursday, Friday, carb loading, and then the night before is very important as well.
Yeah.
And you have to get all your timing right. So
okay.
So now morning, because it's replicates race day.
Right. Well, I think I've gone through basically everything that I wanted to speak about. Thank you so much for coming in the midst of being dealing with a baby and being super busy. But it's been great.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just say, like, thanks for having me on. I think it's a testament to where you've come from. And like I say, when I first met you, you were probably like 13, 14 or something. To see you coaching now, and obviously I've watched your fights and things. It's been a pleasure to sort of be on it and be the sort of first guest. And yeah, thanks very much, man.
Well, I really appreciate being the first guest.
No, it's been a big pleasure, man.